This time I'm given the location of an image, A prime, after I've used a certain rule. The question is, I want to figure out what the original location of this point was, the coordinates of the pre-image, just regular A, not A prime. So in other words, this is a working backwards question. So to do this, I'm actually going to use my rule in reverse. I'm not going to be able to just apply the rule to the point they gave me, because this is the coordinate I got after I applied the rule. So I'm going to need to use the rule backwards in this case. So my rule says to take x and subtract 2. Well, the opposite of that then is, of course, going to be adding 2. So since I'm working backwards, I'm using the rule backwards. So my image location, A prime, was located at -5, 3. That's where I ended up after I used the rule. So let's use the rule backwards this time to figure out where I started out at. So -5 plus 2 gets me a coordinate of -3. And if I use the rule forwards, if I go the direction I usually go in, taking -3 and subtracting 2 would get me -5. I would end up where it says I would end up. This time the y rule, the y portion of the rule, is a little bit different than what we've seen before. It's just y by itself. In other words, the y value isn't changing. So whatever your y value is going to stay the same throughout the problem. So that should be the location of my original point. If I try this like we did in the other video, the original video, just use the rule as is, and you'll see that we would end up at this prime location. One thing you could do too with that y value, if you wanted to, you can think like, what number would you add to y to keep it the same? Well, we would be adding 0. So anytime you see a value like an x or a y by itself, it just means leave it alone. Or if you want to write it as plus something, just write it as plus 0. And of course, if I did the opposite and subtracted 0, that still doesn't change anything. So my original location, my original pre-image, should be at -3, 3.